Hey, this is Adam with the Adam Wines Guitar Academy, and in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the chorus from Ride the Lightning and the transition back into the verse. If you are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, here's a short of me playing those riffs. Okay, let's get right into it. First, we're going to talk about how to play the first riff of the chorus and the rhythm, and then we'll talk about the theory, and then we'll get into the other riffs as well. So the riff is going to start off with the power chord at the 4th fret on the A string. And that's going to look like this. It's the 4th fret on the A string and the 6th fret on the D string. You can use your ring finger on the D or the pinky, whichever. They're both valid and they both work. I find myself switching between both fingerings quite a bit, whatever feels comfortable at the moment. Now, when you play the chord, as with any power chord, you have to be careful with the picking. You want to make sure you're doing down picking for this particular case, and you want to hit both strings together. So it's easy to hit too many strings, etc. So really hone into your picking hand. Pay attention to what you're doing when you play the chord. Okay, and it just takes a little bit of practice and thought and control in order to only hit the proper strings, but a couple tricks, you can kind of maneuver your left hand a little bit to kind of mute the other strings. So as I'm playing, my ring finger kind of lightly grazes the strings. There's no pressure, but it's lightly grazing against them and it stops the sound. That's one trick. You can also rest your palm on the low E string. So when you're going to pick, that string's not going to come out at all. That's another trick. The only thing is you have to lift your palm. You have to lift your palm up in order to get the sound to come out. So don't think too hard about it, but just focus in until it's really comfortable to hit those two strings. Eventually, you won't be thinking about it anymore. It's just one of those things you have to pay attention to at first, but eventually it's really easy. So after that, you'll see in the tab, there's two X's. That refers to a ghost note. In actuality, what I personally do is I just kind of ignore it and I let the power chord ring through that ghost note before I go into the next power chord. But that being said, I'm still going to show you how to play the ghost note. So what you would do, you could palm mute, but you can also use your left hand as well to do that thing I was talking about where you mute the strings. So if you do want to hit that ghost note after you've played this chord, what I would do is I would just kind of let the pressure go of the chord. It looks like the chord's still there, but there's actually no pressure right now. And I'm both palm muting, and I'm also using that ring finger again to kind of mute those strings. So two things are happening. The index finger and the ring finger are not pressing down. They're just very light on the string, so you're going to get this sound like that. So I'm both palm muting and doing that technique, and I get that ghost note. It's not a palm mute. It's not like a heavy palm mute. It's like a passing ghost note. So if you wanted to do it, it would sound like this. Like that. But again, personally, I just let it ring out. That's just how I personally hear it. So after that's over, we come just one fret down to the 3rd fret right here, the 3rd fret on the A string, and the 5th fret on the D string. And same thing, you want to be careful that you're only hitting those strings with your pick. Then after that, it's going to come down one more fret to the 2nd fret, so 2nd fret on the A string, 4th fret on the D string. Then you'll see that ghost note again. Same thing here. You can play the ghost note or you can just kind of ignore it. I personally ignore it. And then it comes back to the 4th fret again, power chord. So it sounds kind of like this. Like that. So I noticed there I didn't really let the chords ring for the ghost note. I just kind of paused. That's what I did. But if I did hit the ghost note, it would sound like this. So very negligible in how they both sound. So your preference, whatever is sounding good to you. Now the next measure, it's just some low A palm muting, and you palm mute all of them, and it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Excuse me. Real simple. So if I put these two riffs together. That's the idea. So rhythmically speaking, what we have going on is we have a quarter note, so it just goes 1, Then the ghost note is on beat 2 as an 8th note, and then it goes to the 3rd fret power chord with an 8th note. So it would sound like this. I'm going to play it without the ghost note, and you'll see what that sounds like. So it'll go 1, 2, and like that. If you play the ghost note, it would sound like this. 1, 2, and like that. Now, when we get to beat 3, it is the power chord again at fret 2 this time. And it's also a power chord, so it's beat 3. And then another set of 8th notes, the ghost notes on beat 4. And then the 4th fret power chord is the and of 4, like that. So I'll count it with the ghost notes, and I'll count it without the ghost notes. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. That's how the rhythm goes. Or 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So I did it 2 ways. The second way, I just didn't play anything really. I just kind of stopped the sound where the ghost note would be. And then measure 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and like that. So I'm going to do it without the ghost notes. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. That's how the rhythm goes. Now, music theory-wise, what we have going on is we have, let's talk about the notes first, and then I'll explain it a little bit more. So we have a C-sharp 5 power chord going to a C5 power chord, going to a B5 power chord, back to that C-sharp 5 power chord, going to an A pedal tone. So, music theory-wise, we are temporarily switching to the tonal center of A major. That's what this chord sounds like. We could say the key, but we're going to get back to the E minor land pretty soon, so it's really up to you. It's not really a big deal. I just kind of think of it as I'm in the A major tonal center for a couple measures for the chorus, basically. So what's happening is we're really emphasizing the 3rd of the A, which is C sharp. So that's getting that color of a major 3rd, which is kind of a happy sound usually. And then it's passing to a C5, which is the minor 3rd, which is usually more metal sounding. And then it's coming to a B5, which is just the 2nd note in the key of A, coming back to a C sharp, and then hitting the root of A. So musically, I'm hearing this in the A tonal center, and it's passing between the C sharp to the B with a C chromatic chord. That's how I personally see this riff here. So even though it has kind of the major 3rd sound, which is typically more happy, it's still very metal sounding because of that chromatic passing tone to the C and how aggressive it is and everything, and the palm muting on the A, so it still sounds very heavy. Now that we know how to play the riff and we kind of understand musically what's happening, after this riff, it gets repeated, but on the 2nd measure, in this case, when you're playing the A pedal tone, it does a nice little hammer pull-off thing from B to C, kind of giving us that minor 3rd tension again before we go into the next riff. And so that is simply going to be, so what happens is it's the same riff as before, like we talked about. That's the same. Then we do palm muting again on the A, but we're going to stop at beat 4. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now on beat 4, typically in the last time we just did 2 more palm mutes, but here we're going to do some hammer and pull-offs like we talked about from B to C to hit that minor 3rd tension. It sounds really cool. So it's real easy. It's just B to C. I'm going to use my index and my middle. It's both on the A string. I'm going to pick and hammer on. Then I'm going to pull off and hammer back on again. So it'll sound like this. And it's pretty fast at 16th notes. So it's very quick, very easy to miss if you're not paying attention. So this riff in this measure, rhythmically speaking, it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and So that's twice as fast as the palm muting that was happening before it. 1 and 1 and 4 E and Okay, so after that, we go into the next riff. We played this riff before in the previous video. This riff was used after the verse to transition us into the chorus, and it is centered around the F-sharp tonal center. It's centered around this F-sharp 5 power chord with the octave up top, so F-sharp, C-sharp, and another F-sharp, and we talked about this before. It doesn't play the chord all at the same time. It has those hammer-ons like we talked about in the other video. So it's what I'm doing is I'm borrowing that first finger across the second fret, and I'm only going to hit the second fret on the A and the D string. I'm going to hammer my ring and pinky onto the fourth fret of the A and D string. So, if you recall from before, and then we're going to pedal on the low F sharp. So it's going to sound like this. Like that. And if you recall, this is a percussive, very driving F sharp tonal center, driving us towards the A tonal center. Now, what's interesting is F sharp is actually the relative minor to A major. So in the key of A major, if you were to say the same exact notes, but starting from F sharp, you'd actually get the F sharp minor scale. So to go down a rabbit trail for 5 seconds, if we play the A major scale, it goes A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Now, if I play the same scale, but I start on F sharp, it's going to change the sound. It's going to sound like it's minor because it is. So it's F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and F sharp. So you can hear how minor that sounds as opposed to... Very interesting. Those are actually the same exact notes, just starting and ending on a different note, and you can see how different that sounded. Very, very interesting. So once again, we are kind of temporarily in the minor center for a second, like in the context of A major, we're going to F sharp minor. So just an interesting thing to think about. So you've got that driving kind of happier A major sound, but again, we have that C in there with that minor third tension with that chromatic passing tone. That gives it a lot of, makes it sound very heavy and everything. And then when it comes to the next riff, it's got that F sharp driving rhythmic action to go back to the chorus riff again, where it's kind of hitting that minor sound in the context of A major. So there's a lot of ways to think about it, but that's personally how I think about it. So once again, rhythmically, we have 1, E, and 2, and 3, and 4, and a little more up to speed. Like that. And that riff is going to get played 2 times before we go right back into the chorus. And this chorus is exactly the same as we talked about a little bit ago. The only thing is we don't add on that 2-3 hammer-on again. So it's actually just like the normal chorus with just normal palm muting on the A pedal, and the whole thing just gets played twice before we go into the transition riff back to the second verse. And so all that is just... So that time I did not do the little hammer pull-off thing. So that's all there is to that. Now we're into the next riff that we just kind of alluded to. This is the transition riff before verse 2. And we have actually played this before in part of one of the intros. I think it was the second intro. And this is just a transition, basically, back to the verse. And if you recall, it's an F sharp 5 power chord, an E5 power chord, and then the F sharp again to the A5 power chord, back to the F sharp, back to the C5 power chord. And this is my favorite part of the riff because that is the tritone from the F sharp. It has a very cool, very heavy, very metal sound. And we talked about this riff before. If you do not recall, it was back in intro 2. So review that video if you're confused. If you look in the description, I have a playlist with all of my Ride the Lightning videos, and that should help out. Okay, so I hope you have a lot of fun with this. We will continue on in the next video with this song. Once again, my name is Adam, and I am available for private Zoom lessons. If you're interested, contact me directly, and my contact details are in the description.